Okay. So I want to welcome everyone to the Creatives Roundtable 60 event featuring MEG CASEBOLT. The Creatives Roundtable is an online community of creative business owners focused on making our business a priority, with moderated monthly groups, a closed Facebook group, and these special events. If you're interested in learning more, somebody's texting me to say they're not going to make it. If you're interested in learning more, go to creatives with an S, roundtable.com. And now a little bit about our speaker. MEG CASEBOLT is an SEO specialist, digital strategist, and founder of Megabulk Digital. I love the name. MEG's clients are the everyday superheroes who are too busy saving their corner of the world to worry about things like website conversion rates and search traffic, even though they know they need this rescuing. MEG geeks out on finding ways to make growing your online presence simpler and more effective with a website that showcases your superpowers and a search strategy that helps you get found by the people who need you most. So I will go around and mute everyone, but I'm going to ask Meg to take it away.
Sounds good. I am thrilled to be here with you guys today. When Nancy asked me to present, I think we talked in like last May, and you were like, well, I'm booking for February. And I was like, I hope we choose a time that works then, because life changes a lot during that time. So I'm thrilled to be here with you. And our original time worked out, which is always nice when that works out. All right. Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Look good? Okay. So we are talking today about how to get found by your ideal clients by using SEO to show up in Google search results. That's the basic idea of what we're talking about here. I'm going to go through kind of the 4 ways that you can set up your website for Google to really start to sit up and pay attention to you. We're going to talk about local SEO and online organic SEO. So this should apply to any business. I tried to keep it fairly generic while also giving some very specific examples. So we're going to talk about what exactly SEO is. It's one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot. I'll explain to you kind of my background, how I came into this very briefly. And then for the most part, we'll be talking about content strategy, backlinks, local SEO. We'll really get into the meat and bones of this. Okay, so really quickly, I am MEG CASEBOLT. I should have put this back in here to say Megabulk Digital, but I'm rebranding by the end of the month. So it always makes me sad when I hear someone like Nancy be like, I love your brand name, Megabulk Digital. And I'm like, oh, I'm changing it next week. So next week, I will be the founder of Love at First Search, where we're all focused on just getting search traffic to your website and getting people to fall in love with you with that first search. I work primarily with women entrepreneurs, helping them not just get found on Google, but also turn those readers into customers using strategies that are really specific for your needs. Just a little bit about me also. I also am totally addicted to s'mores. I love karaoke and I have 2 tiny little boys. They're 5 and 2. So one's at kindergarten and one's with grandma today. Okay, so people throw out there a lot, you need SEO. You need SEO to get your website to work. Life will be easier if you do SEO. And you're like, what the hell is SEO? Right? So let's define it first before I get too deep into the weeds here. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's the practice of increasing both the quantity and the quality of traffic to your website through organic search results. I highlighted 2 parts in this definition. One is quantity and quality. There are some people who focus on SEO who really are just trying to get as many eyeballs as possible on the site because they're running ads on the site, and the more clicks they get, the more time people spend on the site. It doesn't really matter if they're gonna buy from you. It's just about trying to get eyeballs on it. And there is a brand of SEO that makes sense for. If you guys have looked for a recipe online and been like, oh my God, I don't want to read about your kids going to the aquarium, just give me the BLT recipe, right? Like that's some SEO happening, is people who want to create a ton of volume. For me, for the people that I work with who are business owners, it's not really about trying to get the most possible people to your website. It's about getting the right people to find you at the right moment. So for me, it doesn't matter if you have 100 people going to your website or 100,000 people going to your website. It matters how many are subscribing to your newsletter. It matters how many are wanting to work with you and filling out your contact form, buying your products, etc. So you can get found by the right people who are looking for you in Google. I also highlighted organic search results. So when I say organic search engine, I want to explain what that means. engines. So most people, when I say what's a search engine, the one that they can come up with first is Google, right? Like, I've already said that a couple times. Google's the biggest search engine on the planet. People use the verb to Google to mean to search for things. So we're pretty used to that. Most people can also think, okay, Bing, Yahoo, those are kind of the secondary search engines around. But there's some others that are still relevant. So YouTube is actually the second biggest search engine. People don't go to YouTube and just look around, right? You go to YouTube and you look for something specific. Same thing with Pinterest. You can just scroll through Pinterest mindlessly, but chances are you're like, oh, I need a new rug, or what's this paint color? What hair color should I do next? Or, you know, you're kind of thinking about something really specific. And those are two search engines that can drive a lot of traffic to your website. There are other search engines that aren't driving traffic to your website, but you can make sales on them. So places like Amazon or eBay, or for folks in this creative realm, we could be talking about Creative Market or Etsy, places where people are going and searching for a product that they want to buy or download. Those are still search engines. And the things that we're talking about here are a little different on those marketplaces, but the same concepts apply of use the words that people are looking for in your listings on your website to make more sales. One more type of search engine that a lot of people don't think about is the voice activated search engines. So I already told you guys I have a 2-year-old. Alexa is not just for playing Let It Go 1,000 times a day, even if my 2-year-old thinks that it is. So many times. It's also a place where people are going, asking questions, getting answers to their questions, and it's pulling from search engines. The different search engines are used by these different products, but the basic idea is you can still get some traffic from voice activated search, right? So search engine optimization is more than just Google. We're primarily going to be talking about Google here because it is the largest search engine. There are, I think, 6.2 billion searches a day on Google. It's the front runner. So we're going to talk primarily about that, but just reminding you that, you know, it's not just Google that people can find you through. There's also 3 ways that you can get found on Google, some of which you do through SEO and some of which you don't. So I want to make that clear too, that here, when I talk about SEO, about search engine optimization, we are talking about the free version of how to get found on Google. So that is organic search results when you show up in people's results for a link to your website. That's local SEO, which is for Google Maps and also local searches. Those are both versions of search engine optimization. Now you can use both of these for your website. Nancy and I were talking beforehand that I live in Rochester, New York, and I have clients here in Rochester, but I also have clients in Australia and, you know, Greenland and all over the world. And it doesn't have to be one or the other necessarily. So even if you're predominantly an online business, there are still some things that you can do from the local search playbook to help yourself kind of gain more reputation and more authority and get more search traffic. What we will not be talking about today is Google Ads, which used to be called AdWords. I keep it in as AdWords because it's a little clearer. So we won't be talking about any paid search. It's just an entirely different beast. It allows you basically to pay to show up ahead of those free results. But that's not SEO, that's search engine marketing. So we're not talking about that today. If you guys have questions about it, we'll have to table it for another presentation. This is the side that we're talking about, is the organic search. Okay, so let's talk about, now that I told you what SEO isn't, it's not those ads. What is SEO? What are the things that you can do to start to develop your reputation on Google? If you have a local business, then there are specific things that you can do to promote your products and services specifically to people in your geographic area. So if you're here and you're a photographer, you don't want, you know, if you're in New York City, you don't want people from Oregon to contact you to book their, you know, to do their photo shoots. You want to find people in New York City or in the surrounding tri-state area, right? So if you're running a business that has a local presence, it's really important to do local SEO to be found by people in the right place. If you're running a business that isn't location specific, you don't have to worry so much about this side of things. But the other 3 parts of SEO that I'll talk about are relevant to all types of businesses. So local search is kind of optional. The other 3 are kind of like the 3 parts of the stool. The other three parts of SEO, the tactics that you can do to increase your authority on Google, one is you write really great content. You put the words on your website that people are looking for, so that way you can be found for your expertise. I'm going to talk about that a lot. That's my favorite thing to talk about. Another thing you can do is get backlinks into your website, which is basically getting links from external sites to your website. The more authoritative those websites are that are sending links your way, the more it impacts how Google sees you. So, you know, I got a link from creativesroundtable.com to my website because you guys are having me here. And that's a really great backlink for my website to get, because what I'm talking about is specifically meant for creative entrepreneurs, right? So it's a great backlink for me to get. But I would also love to get a backlink from New York Times because they're really well known. So you want to get a combination of backlinks that are both relevant and high authority. I'll talk about that a lot more when we get to that section. I kind of just want to explain what a backlink is in this introductory section. The last thing that we need to work on with SEO, and I'll talk about this in a lot more depth also, is technical. It's making sure that your website loads quickly, because Google doesn't want to send people to your website if it takes 10 or 20 seconds to load. It wants you to be there in like 3 seconds. It wants it to look really good on a cell phone. It wants it to not have any broken links. So there are things that we can do on your actual website to make it run more smoothly, to have a better user experience, and those things will also help Google think better of your website, want to send more people to it. Okay, let's start with our local SEO for my local friends. How to get found by people who are geographically close to you or in a specific location. There are 5 things that you can do. I'm going to do five tips for each one of these sections to kind of make it all wrap together. The most important step you can take for local business is to set up a Google My Business account. This is a free service that Google offers. You can set it up in about 10 minutes at business.google.com. And if you're looking at kind of the right side of my screen and you see that Google Maps and it says, you know, here are the different coffee shops in Toledo, Ohio. I just pick things out of the air when I'm trying to do these presentations. You can see that each of those listings in Google Maps is based on that company's Google My Business listing. So the images that are showing, they uploaded to their Google My Business account. The reviews that they're showing are pulled from their Google My Business account. The addresses, all of it is from Google My Business. If you want to show up in Google search results or in Google Maps, set up your Google My Business account. Even if you don't have a brick and mortar location, if you're an interior designer who works with people in their homes, if you're, you know, a writer who wants to help local businesses write their website copy, but you work out of your home, you can still set up a Google My Business account and specifically say, you know, I live in Brooklyn, but I want to work with people in Manhattan, but only on the Upper West Side and downtown, you know, and you can say, I only want to work with people in these zip codes. You can get really hyper specific about where you show up in those local search results. So it's still possible even if you don't have a brick and mortar location. So don't discount Google My Business if you're running a local business. Online businesses can use it too. It's not quite as valuable, but it still, you know, doesn't hurt. Another thing that you can do that will absolutely help with your local SEO, with showing up in those local search results, is to get local media coverage, to do some PR and to get links from relevant business directories, to get listed in newspapers and local publications. Obviously a TV spot's going to help you, not just because you'll get in front of a potential audience that's local, but also because you'll get a backlink from that TV production, and it can raise your profile among the local search results. Something else that really helps if you are running a local business is to ask for reviews, because you'll notice on that image that I have there of the Google Maps, every single one of them has reviews from a couple hundred people. And that's a major part of showing up in Google search results. You can actually ask for reviews directly from your Google My Business page. You can set it up to send a short link to your clients. You can send it through Twitter, you can send it through email, however you want to reach out to your clients, and just say, would you mind writing a Google My Business review for me? And that will make a huge difference in Google trusting you and wanting to show you in those search results. The last thing is to get listed in directories of relevant resources for your industry. So it doesn't just have to be, I'm in Omaha and I got listed in the Omaha Chamber of Commerce. It can also be, well, I do calligraphy and I got listed on Wedding Wire, so anything that you can do to get traffic and links from relevant local sources or relevant industry sources can help you show up in local search results. That was a lot. If you guys have questions, feel free to interrupt. I'm going to keep plowing through.
I have a question.
Sure.
How many Google reviews for a creative business? I mean, obviously we don't get as many as a coffee roaster, but how many Google reviews is really good to get?
How many does your competition have? One more than them.
Okay.
So I can't answer that specifically. If you have 10 reviews, you'll show up in Google. It's about what's happening in your town. It's about what your competition is doing. There is no threshold. Okay. And we're about to get into some keyword research, and I can't just say, well, if you have 50 blog posts and each of them has search volume of 50 people searching, then you'll show up first in Google. It's more like what else is happening in your industry, what else is happening in your location.
Gotcha.
More competitive spaces are going to require more work.
Okay, thanks.
Great question, though. Okay, so let's talk about the words on your website. Obviously, you want to get found by people in your community if you're running a local business, but regardless if you're local or online, you want to be found for what you do, right? For who you serve, for who you are, for what you offer. And so when you are writing the content of your website, you need to not only know what it is that you're offering, but also what are the words that people are actually looking for when they are looking for your services. And this is where I have people going through a training that I do, and they say that every time I say clear beats clever, they want to take a shot because I say it so often. But this is where we want to be clear. We want to be super clear. Nancy is a designer. She designs websites. She could be very cute about I create people's vision and turn it into digital reality, right? But no, people aren't looking to have their vision distilled into magic, right? They want a web designer. Use the words that people are using. So that's my first tip for you, is to just be really specific about what you are and who you serve and what are the outcomes that they get. Because you can say, sure, I'm a web designer, but there's a lot of web designers out there. If you can specifically say, I'm a web designer for career coaches. I'm looking at my list of clients over here. I'm a web designer for career coaches. I help therapists and mental health professionals get found in Google search. And I know all the HIPAA procedures of what therapists need to have on their website. I know what the accessibility rules are, and you can write about those things. Then when a counselor, a mental health professional, a social worker, someone like that is looking for somebody who has experience doing what you do, they're going to look for something like web designer for therapists. And if you can show up in those search results, those people are going to buy from you so much faster than if they're just looking for web designer. Now, not everyone needs to niche down by the exact audience that you're working with. Maybe you want to say, I'm a Squarespace web designer. Maybe you want to say, I'm a web designer who focuses on people with digital products. Maybe, it doesn't necessarily have to be the industry that you're best known for, but thinking about who is that ideal client and what would that ideal client refer to themselves as. I think especially for those of us who are in the creative field, we default to saying, I help creative professionals or creative entrepreneurs, but nobody on their business card says, I'm a creative entrepreneur. They say I'm an artist and I'm looking for somebody to help me build an art website. So thinking about what are the types of ways that your people would refer to themselves. And sometimes you just, go on their Facebook pages or their Instagram profiles and see what they call themselves. Because it's not going to be these generic terms of, online entrepreneurs or course creators. It's going to be, coach for moms, right? It's going to be something really specific. And then once you have that idea of who you serve and how do they talk about themselves, then you can think about what it is that you offer and work backwards from there. So if you are a web designer and you have packages to help people get their websites done, what are the questions that they're going to ask before they're ready to hire a web designer? And you create content that is a pathway to working with you. So when somebody is ready to hire a web designer, maybe you want to write a blog post that's like 10 questions you should ask a web designer before you hire them. And then the step before that might be, should I DIY this or should I hire a web designer? And then a step before that might be, should I build my website on Wix or WordPress? You know, and like thinking about what are the questions that people have when they want to work with you, and answer those questions before they get to your site. By creating that content, you are both building trust for people who are specifically looking to hire somebody with your skill set, but in addition, then you can show up for DIY web design or for Wix and WordPress or for how to hire a web designer. You can show up for very specific search terms by thinking about what are the problems that people have before they hire me, and what are the problems that they have that I can solve for them. By creating that content based on the problems that people are having or the questions that they have, and by creating really high quality content that people want to read, you can draw those people into your website. So how do we know what it is that people are actually looking for? How do we know what phrases are being typed into Google? Well, good news, Google tells us. Google takes all of their, I don't know what I say, 6.2 billion searches a day, and they aggregate them. And they share that data. Now, they share that data through the Google Keyword Planner, which is a tool that you can use if you have a paid Google AdWords account. But they also let software pull that information out so that you can get it for free without needing to create an AdWords account. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can find out the types of things that your ideal client might be looking for, so that you can start to think about how to create content that will show up in those search results. So the whole process of what I just explained about figuring out what people are looking for is called keyword research. Some people kind of panic when they hear the phrase keyword research because they're like, oh, that sounds like a lot of spreadsheets. But really rethink about it. Think of it as finding the words and phrases that searchers are putting into the search engine. Sometimes people get a little confused when I say keyword because they think it's one word. But I mean, it could be 8 words, 20 words, whatever. When people go, they type it into Google, Google aggregates that and it will tell you exactly how many people are looking for that information. So
it doesn't have to be like annual report designer with no spaces. It could be annual report designer.
Yeah, it could be annual report designer. It could be nonprofit designer or annual reports. It could be annual report print designer. It could be, you know, any version of this.
Okay.
Anytime that those words show up in any order. I mean, I don't want to get too technical, but there's like broad match keywords where it's like anytime that the word annual and report and designer shows up, it'll show you those. Or if you specifically want only the phrase annual report designer, you can get that too. Okay. But any page on your website can rank for infinite number of keywords. So it's actually pretty cool. So when you're looking for keywords that you want to be found for, there are kind of 3 criteria that I like to remind people to think about. You want something that people are looking for, right? Like you can write really great content, but if nobody's looking for it, it's not going to show up in Google search results because nobody's looking for it. You want something that is relevant to what you are selling. So you can post tons of cat gifs on your website, but if it's not relevant to the annual report design, then it's not going to lead to sales. And you also want something that not everyone else has already written about. So you want to find something that's not super competitive, that has some ability to rank for it. So let me show you kind of some examples of what this looks like. So if you are a hairstylist, you don't want to write a whole blog post about the benefits of rosemary oil for hair growth because nobody's looking for that. Like there's like 10 people a month looking for that topic, right? So you can write a whole great long post about it, but potentially no one will read it. If you are a hairstylist, you don't want to just try to write about shampoo because that's a really competitive space. Everyone talks about shampoo. Everyone has shampoo. There's going to be a lot of people advertising on the shampoo page. So it's probably not the best choice for you. If you're a hairstylist, you don't want to write a post about why doesn't Caillou have hair? Now you can tell how young my kids are. Even though it's about hair, it's not relevant to the services that you offer. So maybe you want to write a blog post about what is the best haircut for round faces. It is good search volume, it's not super competitive, and it's relevant to what you do. And if I was looking for a hairstylist and I had a round face, I would love to find somebody who thinks about that and gets it. I have a couple other examples here. I'm not going to read them all to you, but really thinking about what are the things that are fairly low competition, relevant to your services, and you know that people are looking for them. Okay, so now that we know sort of the idea of what we're looking for, where do we find this information? The first place is just to go to Google. Think about what it is maybe that you want to be found for and just type it into the Google search bar. And I'm going to walk you through 4 different tools here. The example that I have is copywriters. I just thought, okay, let's see what shows up when people are looking for copywriters. So on the left side of the screen, you can see here that this is the full page of what people see when they look for copywriters. We've got an ad up here at the top. We've got some images here of different copywriting graphics. We've got what's called a featured snippet, which is like the Google pulling the short answer of it. We've got a people also ask bar. We've got some videos, and then we have our first search result here of what is a copywriter. So as you're looking at this page, you may want to look at 2 different places to think about what are the types of things that people are looking for. The first is the people also ask bar, which I also pulled out here. When people are looking for a copywriter, what are the types of things that people are also asking about? What does a copywriter do? How do you become a copywriter? What's a copywriter's salary? Is being a copywriter a good career? And the cool thing about the people also ask bar, if you're starting to think about what are the types of things that people are looking for, is that every time you click one of these, more of them show up that are related to that search query, that search query, that search query. So if you, a couple of these are about how to become a copywriter instead of how to hire a copywriter. So you may want to start with what does a copywriter do, and then something about the copywriter skills and tactics will show up underneath it in the people also ask kind of infinite loop. The other place that I like to look at when I'm looking at the Google search results is all the way down at the bottom. Before you get to that second page of results and click over, you see a searches related to copywriters. So these are other things that people have searched for: copywriting for beginners, how to become a copywriter, copywriter courses. So what are the types of things that people are looking for? You can get an idea for what those searches are straight from the source by going to a Google page. Okay, what's another place where we can find out the types of things that people are searching for? There's a tool I love called answerthepublic.com, where you type in a word like copywriter and it will tell you what people are searching for with different questions. So how does a copywriter earn money? How do you become a copywriter? How much does a copywriter charge? How to advertise your copywriting services. These are all the how questions. And then another section is the who question. So who needs a copywriter? Who is a website copywriter? Who invented copywriters? It's a weird question. And then another one is a preposition where you're saying copywriter for hire, copywriter for websites, or for coaches, or for creatives, or for photographers, or social media, or real estate. And I love the for section because I kind of think about what are the specialties or what are the specific skills that people are looking for with this type of service. Copywriting for therapists, or Amazon, or e-commerce, or Facebook ads, or Nike, or interior designers. There's a chunk of people who are just looking for a copywriter for Facebook ads. If that's what you want to do and you just want to write Facebook ads all day, there are people looking for you. So just getting an idea here of the basic ideas of a brainstorm of what people are looking for in your industry can be incredibly useful just for starting to think about what are the types of things that I want to include on my website.
So Meg, on this page on answerthepublic.com, did you just put in copywriter?
Just put in copywriter.
Okay.
On Answer the Public, you can get 3 queries for free a day. Okay. I've never found a reason to upgrade to their pro plan. You guys just go back the next day and do 3 more queries. Right. But you can get more specific there, where maybe next you want to look at copywriting services or writers, or you can kind of play around with how do people perceive this word?
Right.
Is
Okay.
often the way that I see this.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. So after you have an idea of what are the types of things that people are looking for, it can be really helpful to know how many people are looking for that phrase, and how possible is it for me to show up in those search results. So another tool that I recommend, it's also free, it's called Uber Suggest. And I've got the name spelled out up at the top because I know that's a kind of weird one. And this one tells you specifically how many people on average every month are looking for these search terms. This one also gives you some information about Google Ads, how many people are advertising and what they're paying for these keywords, which I don't want you to worry about that one, so ignore those kinds of two middle columns. And then the final column over there, SD, is search difficulty. So that's a metric that Uber Suggest kind of calculates for you. Every keyword research tool you can use has a different algorithm they use to calculate this, because Google doesn't share their algorithm, but they kind of try to game it and figure it out. So according to Uber Suggest, lower numbers are easier to rank for these. So you want to be able to take a look at, okay, how many people are looking for this keyword versus how difficult is it to rank for? Because sure, 40,000 people a month are looking for copywriter, but once you look at some of the other keywords showing up here, you think, oh, these are people looking to become copywriters or to get copywriter jobs. They're not necessarily looking to hire me as a copywriter. So becoming aware of not just volume, but again, coming back to relevance. How relevant are these terms to the people who would want to work with me? So in this case, once I saw, okay, tons of volume for copywriter, pretty difficult to rank for, not necessarily the most relevant keywords, let me get more specific with my search here. And so I looked up website copywriter, because I thought, okay, people who are looking to become a copywriter are not looking up a website copywriter. People who want to hire a copywriter might be. So here we see that we've got, plain old copywriter has 40,000 people a month looking for it. And website copywriter only has 800 people a month looking for it. So you might think, whoa, that's way fewer people. Is this worth it? But the thing is, those 800 people a month looking for it are going to be way more likely to hire somebody who says that they're a website copywriter. Their chances are that they're more likely to have their wallets out to hire somebody. So yes, the volume is smaller, but the competition is smaller and the relevance is higher. So part of keyword research is figuring out, based on your industry, based on what you already have on your site, what you're already ranking for, what are some things that are reasonable for you to write about and be found for. If you're just getting started with planning the words that you're putting on your website, whether that's on your homepage, on your about page, on your blog post, wherever it goes on your website, if you're just starting to figure this out, I recommend you start with lower volume keywords that are easier, and then you can kind of work your way up over time. So even if you're looking at this and saying, copywriter for website content, oh, that's only got 40 people a month looking for it. Yeah, but those 40 people a month know that they want website content. And if that's what you're doing, then you could get, 10 of those people and 2 of them turn into leads. Okay, if you write, if you add that phrase in specific places on your website, you might be able to get that traffic much more easily, and it might be much more likely to convert than something that's a little more generic. So don't just say, oh, I'm going to go for the biggest number of search volume. We also need to factor in how relevant are these search terms, how competitive are these search terms. I wish there was a formula where I could say, okay, make sure that it's got, 100 people a month looking for it, and the search volume of this, and a search difficulty that there isn't. It really needs to be relative to what else is going on in your industry. Oh, I see you talking, Nancy, but you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. If you could go back to that slide for a minute.
Sure.
So I know a cost per click is the second one. What's PD?
That's paid difficulty. So that's the number of people who are advertising on that page.
Okay.
I tend not to talk about the paid search stuff too much, because it can get a little overwhelming and free trainings. But if you think about it as, if people are advertising on that page, it's going to be even harder to rank for it in search, because you're going to get bumped down a lot.
Got it.
Yeah. One more tool. And then you guys who are taking notes furiously will get a little bit of a break, maybe. The last tool, which is a lot of fun, actually, is Google Trends. It's located at trends.google.com. And the great thing here is that you can compare how many people have been searching for a keyword or a topic over a specific period of time in specific locations. So here I did copywriter, website copy, freelance writer. And you can see along the top that each of them got assigned a color. And then in the United States, over the past 10 months, how many people were searching for each of these. And copywriter is the highest version there, but then freelance writer kind of took off about 2 months ago. I don't know why, but lots of people suddenly started looking for freelance writers a couple months ago. So you can start to see trends happening. You can change the timelines. You can go up to, I think, 2004 backwards and take a look at how words have changed in your industry. So I did this once for a client who talks about mindfulness. And just the phrase mindfulness over the last, I don't know, what is that, 16 years, it's like, you know, because nobody talked about mindfulness 10 years ago, but now it's very common to talk about. I have another client who does tiny houses, and we started to see a little bit of bubble because people got really excited about tiny houses and then it started to kind of dip off. So being able to see what's happening in your industry, what are people curious about, what are some related terms they're looking for that are maybe rising or sinking in tandem with them, can help you stay ahead of the curve. The other cool thing that I love about Google Trends is you can see where are people looking for these different terms. So chances are, if you are a website copywriter, you want to use the term copywriter, not writer, in everywhere but, where is that? Is that New Mexico? New Mexico, everyone wants writers. And you can also see by states, they'll break it down. And then you can even go in, if you're a copywriter in Maine and you want to find out exactly in your county, you know, in Augusta, Maine, what are people looking for? Which of these terms are they looking for? You can break it down that way. It also, I didn't take a screenshot of this, but it will even tell you, like, in certain industries, God, what was the one I looked up? I looked up nutritionists recently to see if people were looking for nutritionist or dietitian and how were people split in this kind of industry. And what's showing up in search results right now is Khloe Kardashian becoming a nutritionist. You know, it's not always the things you expect, but Google can tell you what the trends are. You know, over the past year, 200% more people have been looking for Khloe Kardashian nutritionists, right? So who knows what shows up. Have you guys ever seen that that image of Coke versus Pepsi? No, not Coke versus Pepsi, pop versus soda, where people say the different words in the United States.
Yeah.
That comes from Google Trends. And like in the South, everyone calls it just Coke. It's like orange Coke, Sprite Coke. You know, so it can be a really fun thing to play with. And you can also, like, if you just go to Google Trends, it will show you like who's looking for Kim Kardashian versus Taylor Swift. Like, it's just fun to play with. It's the most fun of the tools.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Okay. So we found these keywords. We have a better idea of what it is that people are looking for. Okay, great. But Meg, what do I do with this? Where does this go? So I'm going to walk you through 7 different places on every page of your website that you can potentially put a keyword. I have a checklist. You guys can download it after this, so it doesn't have to be, you know, I see Evie there taking notes pretty seriously. So I'll share my starter kit with you guys at this, so you don't have to take super crazy notes. But every page on your website can be found for infinite number of keywords. So I like to think of giving every page on your website 1, maybe 2 target keywords, and then putting it into many of these places that I'm about to list for you. The first is your title tag and your slug, which is that thing that comes after your domain. So you have your domain / and then the page that it's on. So your title tag is the 67 characters that shows up in Google search results. So for my website, for my homepage, the title tag is SEO services and training for women entrepreneurs. And I specifically say SEO services, SEO training, you know, these are some of the keywords that I would want my homepage to be found for. And then when I think about when people are scrolling through, let's say that they're looking for SEO services and I show up in those search results, I want them to know who I work with specifically, so that If people are women entrepreneurs, they can be like, yeah, I do want somebody who works with me, with my people. And we want to see that show up in those search results. And if somebody's looking for, and I actually have done the keyword research, I know that there are people, I showed up in a search result once for feminist SEO. And I was like, this is the proudest day of my life, right? Because I put in this piece about who I want to work with. The part underneath your key, actually, let me skip to the next slide. So here we go. Here's another page on my website where I specifically want to be found for SEO consulting. Not the same as SEO services. So each page of my website has a different phrase that I want to be found for, a different keyword that I want to be found for. So on my consulting page, the title tag has SEO consulting. The slug is Megabolt Digital / consulting, or it could be like SEO - consulting if I wanted it to be. But making it super clear to Google in these two places, my title tag and my URL, my URL, this is what this page is about. If people are looking for this, this is the page I want you to send them to. And then there's another section that shows up in your Google search results that Google doesn't necessarily pay attention to. It doesn't roll into the algorithm, but it does show up in search results. And that's this part with the black text that is the meta description is what it's called. You can fit up to 100, no, do I think I have that on the next page? I do, up to 155 characters for your meta description. And wherever you're filling out your title tag, if you're in WordPress and you're using the Yoast plugin, you can do this both there. If you're on Squarespace, every page has SEO settings. You can put it in right there. Every website that we're talking about, every page will let you put in an SEO title and a meta description or an SEO description, or they call it different things, but the idea is the same on every website. So whatever platform you are on, this is something that you can do today to tell Google what it is that you do. Your meta description is not part of the Google algorithm, like I said. It's really more about what the searcher wants to read. So this is actually a terrible meta description, but I'm gonna do. I updated it after I pulled this for this slide, but it's the idea of, there are 9 other websites at least showing up in that first page of search results. What can I say to the person who's searching in regular plain English in that 155 characters that is going to invite them to the website, that's going to give them some idea of what to expect once they get there? That's going to say, I know those other 9 guys are here, but come on over to my website because here's what you're going to find there. So that's the first and second place that you can put your keyword is your title tag and your URL. Okay, here's a list of my checklist, which I'm happy to give you guys. Your website body text, it can go into 4 different places, anywhere in the text of your website. So your page title. Your page title is not always the same as your title tag. So the title tag is the part that shows up in the search results, and then you can just have a headline. It doesn't have to be the same. Sometimes it's better if it's different, right? So when you go to your website and you have that, you get to the website and it's the Creatives Roundtable, you want to be able to say, this is Creatives Roundtable, and then maybe a subhead that says like helping creatives run their businesses smarter, get more clients, make more money, whatever that looks like. You can get keywords right in there in that headline where you're able to share with people the outcomes that they're looking for and say that you can give that to them. If you're writing either copy for the main pages of your website for your homepage, or you're writing blog posts and other content, you can get your keyword into the first paragraph of body text, if possible. This one's less important than some of the other ones. You want to be able to tell Google in a number of ways, like this is what this blog post is about, or this is what this page is about. But we also want to sound like a human. So I don't want you to feel like you have to jam keywords into every place that I give you here, but really thinking about trying to work them in whatever the natural way would be. If you have subheadings, this is, if you're building out a blog post or a specific page of your site and you have different subheadings, you may want to get a keyword into a subheading. Every 200, 300-ish words throughout a document, if you can work in, it doesn't have to be that exact same keyword, but something related to it. So if you're doing annual report design, then you can talk about annual reports, you can talk about pamphlets, you can talk about print design, you can talk about web design, you can talk, it doesn't have to be that one specific quote, annual report design, end quote. that shows up in that place. But if you're writing about annual report design, it shouldn't be too hard to every couple hundred words say, and when you're designing your annual report, you want to think about these things. So this one usually happens pretty naturally if you have a plan for what you're writing. The last place that I want to talk about including keywords is your image alt tags. This is really important, especially for creatives, especially for people who have more visual assets available to them. So if you're a web designer, if you're an interior designer, if you are, a blogger who has really great Pinterest images you want to be found for, if you do infographics, those are all really wonderful assets. And you want people to find you for, things in your portfolio or for projects that you've worked on. But Google cannot see pictures. Google cannot watch videos. Google cannot listen to audio. It can read HTML. And so if you have an image that you would love to show up for in Google image results, right click on the image, go to edit, and then add an alt tag there that has the keywords that are relevant to that image. So if you have a blog post about annual report designs and you're including pictures of annual reports that you've worked on in that blog post, then you would maybe want to have an alt tag that says, annual report 2019, and then the name of the organization that you made it for, designed by Nancy Russo, and then the next image might be 2017 annual report for this firm, designed by Nancy, and so you want to be able to have those keywords that people are looking for, like annual report design. If you include those alt tags and then somebody searches for that, then you would maybe not even just show up not just in the search results, but also in the image results, which can be even more powerful if somebody's looking for something visual. If you're an interior designer and somebody's looking for living room design with gray walls, and your image shows up there, then they're going to click through to your website from that image. It's going to be even more powerful because they're not just thinking like, oh, maybe this interior designer knows it, but they already see your work and they're able to click through to it from there. The other two, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
I was just going to say, so like on the alt tags for my company, I have, like website design, Westport, Connecticut, New York City, and then maybe the technology website design, something like that. So I always, and Russo graphics, and I always have the city and this as well. Is that important? Not important?
For a local business, sure. Now, your homepage, you may want to say website design Connecticut, and then maybe your about page, you want to have a different keyword that's like technology design Connecticut.
Or on all of my pages, it has my 2 addresses on it.
That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking you don't want to say technology design on every single one of the pages in the title tags, because then Google's going to get confused and not know which one to send to. But addresses, yes. Especially if you're running a local business, you want to get your address into your location on relevant pages like your about page, your contact page, maybe a blog post. Also put it in your footer with your locations, not just, well, you want to get your business name, your address or your towns, and if you have a phone number people can reach you on, you want that to be consistent throughout all the places. Okay, really quickly, 2 more things about alt tags. The great thing about alt tags is that if you have people who have assistive screen readers, if they have some sort of visual impairment, they can set up their browser that instead of images, it shows them alt tags. So this is really great for accessibility, which I know is becoming much more important, especially with larger companies and corporations, that their websites have to be accessible. So this is great for any browser that has images disabled, and will also potentially, if you're working for larger corporations or grant funded organizations, you need to know how to do this. And then also your alt tag shows up as your default text on Pinterest. So if you have a strong Pinterest presence and you know that people are pinning directly from your website over to Pinterest, or you want to have a bit more control of how your images are showing up on Pinterest, then putting in alt tags will help you have a little bit more say about what's showing up in those Pinterest images. So your alt tag should be a short readable term that describes the image, because Google can't see it. So you kind of just need to say, here's what's in this picture, right? Whew. I'm going to run out of time. Okay, so backlinks. We've got how to get Google to pay more attention to you by getting links from other people's websites to yours. So when I say backlink, I mean that it's a link that comes from a high domain authority website to your website. You want something that is high authority because Google's more likely to trust it that way. How do you get backlinks? You make sure that your content's shareable. So you make sure that you have, that a search bar or a share bar somewhere on your website so people can share it. If you want to reach out to leaders in your industry and ask them to link to the post that you have, that can be really helpful. You can pitch guest post places, you can go on podcasts, basically any sort of PR that you are able to do for your website will also impact your SEO. So the bigger PR opportunities that you have, the more it will impact your search results. There's a lot more I can say about this, but I also want to get through technical SEO. What can you do to make sure that your website is something that Google wants to send traffic to? So what can you do to make it easier for Google to review your content and also make a better search experience for the people who are finding you in those search results so that Google's more likely to show to people? So Google looks at the mobile version of your website first. It does not look at the website version, it looks at the mobile version first. If your mobile version sucks, it will penalize both your mobile traffic or your mobile search traffic and your desktop search traffic. So when you're building your website, please check it out for your mobile responsiveness. If you're not sure, you can Google the phrase, is my website mobile friendly? And Google's mobile responsiveness test will show up and you can type in your website and it will tell you not only whether or not, the screen adjusts the way that it needs to, but also, oh, your margins are a little too wide in this space. You should, or an image is too big, or it'll tell you what it looks at that may be a problem. So make sure your website is mobile responsive. Make sure your website loads quickly. Like I said, if your page takes 10 or 20 seconds to load, then people aren't going to wait around for it. They're going to go back to Google, and Google's going to pay attention to the fact that they're not sticking around for your page to load, and you're going to drop in rank. So how can you make sure that your page loads quickly? Don't have too many plugins loaded. Make sure that your images are compressed so that way they don't take forever to load. You can test, there's a couple different websites out there, Pingdom, GT Metrics. I'm happy to give you a list of these if that's helpful. But you can basically look for how long does it take my website to load. You can Google that. Even Google has a website called Page Speed Insights, and it will tell you how long it takes to load and things that you can do to make it load faster. What I just mentioned about all these content tags, about getting your title tag in place, getting your alt tags in place, anything that you're doing like that will also help with your technical SEO because Google will understand what is actually happening on your website. You're basically telling Google what's going on. If you have broken links, that can also impact your technical SEO. This is something that is kind of out of your control. You may be linking out to other people's sites and then they move things and it can impact your SEO. So you can go to deadlinkchecker.com and that will show you whether or not you have it'll scan through your whole site for any 404 errors. And the last thing is, especially if you have a fairly complex website with lots and lots of pages, you can get your XML sitemap and you can upload it directly to Google Search Console, and that will say to Google, hey, look at these pages, don't look at these pages. It's pretty easy. Most times if you're on WordPress, it lives in the same place. If you're in Squarespace, it lives in the same place. So you can just Google, how do I get my sitemap, and upload it that way. So that's everything that I have. If you guys want that checklist, if you want a list of all of these, everything that I just mentioned, you can go to megaboltdigital.com/start, sign up for my free SEO starter kit that has a lot of this information written down for you already. All right, I am happy to answer any questions that you have, but I wanted to definitely leave time for Q&A. So let me stop sharing my
I'm
screen.
trying to go through and unmute people, but I'm not able to unmute everyone myself. So does anyone have any questions? This was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
Yamilka?
This was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm very
Thank you.
excited about it. Now I'm sort of like, oh my God, I've got to rethink everything.
I know, right? I don't want to have panic come up for people, but I also need to give the basics. So I have a bunch of resources on my website if you head over there too for how to get it started.
And you also, 1 second, Yamilka, you also mentioned that you have training or,
Yes.
so would you be able to, because I'll email everyone a follow-up link to this so they can rewatch it. Would you be able to email me the checklist and email me information on the training so I could send it to everyone?
Sure. So yeah, so I have a couple different trainings that I do. I'm actually building one out right now, and I'm going to be launching it within the next like week or two. So you guys can be the first to get it if you're interested. It's called, what did I name it? SEO Setup Success. I was recording it this morning, so I'm like, as long as I have my hair done, I may as well, right? And it's walking through all of the technical setup. It's going into more detail about how to figure out which keywords there are. So anyway, I interrupted you, but yes, I have a number of trainings all about content strategy and
Great.
all the good things.
Okay.
Excellent. It was exactly that. I just wanted, you mentioned a lot of different websites, like, you know, you can go here, you can go there, and I just couldn't get it all. So I'm glad Nancy asked. So I'm sure it'll be there. That's all.
Yeah, I'll make sure to send Nancy, especially those like 5 technical websites I just listed off at the end, and you're like, oh my God, how do you spell Pingdom? I'll send the list to Nancy for sure.
Great.
Exactly. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Nadine, you always have a question.
Oh, she's still muted.
Yeah, you're muted. For some reason, I can't unmute you.
She can unmute herself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I usually do have a question, but every time I wrote down a question, you answered it within the next slide. So I've got lots of stuff to work on, I think.
Okay.
I have a question, if it's okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. Nancy, you don't even know about this about me because I only met you yesterday, but I'm going to be ordained as a minister in June, and I want to start working on my website so that the day I'm ordained, I can make it go live. So Nancy, I need to talk to you, obviously.
Right.
But Meg, I mean, do you work with Nancy, or would I hire you separately to consult on?
Yeah, you can work with me directly on consulting or go through one of my trainings to, you know, I have a couple group coaching programs that run a couple times a year too that kind of help people walk through this.
Because I want to be very serious about getting this up and running quickly.
Yeah. So definitely you'll want to do, you'll want to do some keyword research about, you know, what are people looking for minister? Are they looking for efficient? Are they looking for?
It's going to be for weddings. It's going to be for funerals. It's going to be for memorial services. It's going to be for baby namings. It's going to be for counseling.
Yeah, so you'll have different things that you have to define.
Yeah.
And you can do that with Meg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that
so
can help
Nancy, would it be smart to do that with Meg before I start to work with you, or vice versa?
Well, because you have to supply all your copy to me beforehand, I would say yes.
Hey, all right. Thank you.
And I also think, you know, if people will ask me like, do I do the SEO or do I do the design or do I, you know, and I think that Yamilka's like, yep, I had that question too. Yeah, I think both of them can be a good starting place. I think when you're starting new copy and you already know how to write copy for a website, doing the keyword research first can be really helpful because you're not building the website then going back and rewriting it. But if you already have a website up, then I like to think, you know, some people like build a website and then they like want to put it on the wall and put like a piece of glass over it and be like, don't touch the website, it's perfect. But I always think of websites as like gardens, where the more you learn about your ideal client, the more you learn about their problems, the more you have to go in and like the setting up the website is the first step, but like that's like tilling the soil, right? But then every month or so you can go, you know, you can write a new blog post every week, you can write a new blog post every month, whatever that looks like, whatever that, or you can update your homepage to be more specific, or maybe you just want to change out your title tags, or maybe you just want to add a new image, but you can always be adjusting. And there's a way, and I have free trainings and paid trainings about this, there's a way that you can use a tool called Google Search Console, which will tell you every word that people have searched and seen you show up in search results for, how many of them have clicked for each one of those keywords, and you know what rank you are for each of these keywords. And so maybe, Evie, you're going to start and you're going to say, okay, I'm a minister. And then as you build the website and you say, okay, I called myself a minister, but people are really looking for efficient, then you can go in and change it. Or maybe have one page where you're talking about being a minister and another page where you're talking about being an efficient. And then you see, oh, actually more, I saw that people were looking for officiant, and maybe that's less competitive, but more people are looking for a minister. So you kind of have to like play the game of SEO. And I think if you think of it as a game instead of like a series of rules, it's not quite as painful.
Well, I would like to start doing some of that research like now so that I build it right from the beginning.
I have a program starting in half an hour if you want to join me.
Okay. Nancy, that email you're expecting from me might be a half an hour late.
Okay. Well, I think the idea is that that Meg seems to have a lot, besides the fact that she gave us great information, she has good free and paid resources on her website. So I'll send all that information to everyone. We are actually out of time. Does anyone have one last question before we go?
Oh, I have one. It's Lydia.
Hi, Lydia. Go ahead.
Sorry. Quick question about backlinks. I know you had mentioned reaching out to industry leaders. Do you have any tips, like, so that it doesn't seem like sales reaching out?
Yeah, I think that, the first reach out should just be like, I really admire your work and I appreciate what you're doing. And, if you want a guest post or if you want to have I think setting it not as, let me pitch myself hard to you. It's more like starting a relationship can make a big difference. If you have something you can offer them, then that's even better. So if you can say, hey, I have a podcast or a YouTube channel and I want to talk with you, then it makes it more of like an easy sell to them. But in general, I think just showing that you have value and that you care about their program and that you're customizing it in some way can go a huge distance. I work with a lot of people who get a lot of cold pitches that are completely rote and boring. And anytime that people can say, hey, I listened to your last 3 podcasts. I loved the conversation that you had with so-and-so. I'm wondering if you take any guest posts, or would you be interested in having a guest on who can talk to you about any of these 3 topics? Making it really customized to the person that you're pitching makes such a huge difference, especially the larger the organization or brand that you're pitching, the more shitty posts they get or shitty pitches they get. So finding ways to make yourself stand out, any way that you can make them stand out.
Great.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, well, I'm going to end it for everyone. Thank you so much, Meg. This was just fantastic.
Meg, how do I get onto your 2 o'clock thing?
I just emailed you, or I just sent you my email address. So
Okay.
as a private message, so you just shoot me an email after.
Okay, I didn't see that right away, but
Oh, no, it's okay.
Go into the chat.
Yeah.
Below.
Okay. So guys, I will send all this information over to Nancy with the starter kit and the links. And then if you have any questions, you can hop on my email list, shoot me an email, whatever works for you.
Great.
Meg, send me the thing as well. Send me an email. Maybe I have some time.
You can go to Megabolt, right?
Yeah, megaboltdigital.com has all my information. And then the program that I have that's starting today is called Attract and Activate. It's a content planning course that takes it's live coaching over the next 6 weeks, starting at 2 o'clock today. So just kind of worked out with the scheduling, but if you guys are interested.
Nancy, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks guys so much. Thank you for coming live. Thanks for the questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Meg. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Glad you enjoyed it.